In this video, I'm going to look at 3 Australian assembled Toyotas. The Camry, the Cressida, and right at the back, the deadly coronavirus. So I've already done a video of the Toyota Crown, which was assembled by AMI here in Australia. And here are some cars that came later. And there is a little bird just trotting along merrily. We'll start at the back though with possibly the most interesting car here. This is the Corona. Now I can't tell you whether we got these in the UK. They might have been badged as something else. Coronas, Carinas, the names often got switched about in the UK, which was quite annoying. But it's very, very 1970s, down to the sort of chromium stainless steel wipers. We've got push button cloth seats and a very, very retro interior. The most interesting thing about this car is under the bonnet, but we'll have a look there in a moment. Oh, that's a proper indicator noise. So yeah, very, very 1970s, but air conditioned apparently. Obviously Australians quite like a bit of air conditioning, and so that's something we wouldn't have seen in the UK. Tiny little stalks here, big 3-spoke steering wheel, beautifully retro, almost Art Deco dashboard. Put the ignition on so we get some of those lights to come on. There we go. It doesn't warn him when the door is open, and the door is open. That's bad news. Look, it's even got a systems monitor. So it warns the washers, lights and seat belts. That's quite advanced stuff, really. A little cassette player down here. Lovely. Wow, a good collection of cassettes. Let's pick one at random. And we've got That's Entertainment. Andre Kostelanetz and his orchestra. Well, there you go. A fine collection of music. But look how bright it is in here. No doubt these are assembled in Australia. Little cubby down here. Now unfortunately this car isn't actually road registered at the moment, so we can't actually take her out on the road, which is a bit of a shame. But we can certainly take in the lights of the controls, the horn. Just like on the Toyota Crown, it's the same button used in 3 different positions, so it's upside down there for the horn, and they don't play different notes, as I discovered last time. 3-speed automatic transmission with no torque converter lockup makes it revvy. But yeah, like I say, the talking point of this car is under the bonnet, so we'll go and have a look under there. There we go. Yeah, so the big talking point with this car, this Toyota, is not the fact that it was manufactured by Australian Motor Industries Limited. It was, but it's this engine, which is a Holden engine, and not a very good one. This is the legendary Holden Starfire engine, and there were rules about how much local content there must be. But at the time of making this car, Toyota was not making a 4-cylinder engine in this country, and their solution was to link up with Holden. And Holden had taken its 6-cylinder engine, overhead valve, all very ancient, and lobbed 2 cylinders off it to create the Starfire. And yeah, not a very good engine, unfortunately, and definitely not up to Toyota specs, especially when you bolted an aircon compressor to it. It must make it even worse. This one does run, so we can start her up for you. Oh, I think she wants a bit of throttle. Oh, not quick enough. Let's try again. There we go, we have life. There is no way on God's earth that you would call that a refined engine. It sounds like something from the 1940s. So yeah, not very much power, not a very good engine. It was used in the Holden Gemini, which was like the equivalent of the Chevette, and again they used that engine here. But yeah, it's rough as anything. It's not a great engine. I will be quite glad to turn it off again. Yeah, that's it has got a viscous fan though. You can see the fan continues spinning even after the engine stopped, because it's not clutched in, because the engine isn't up to temperature. But yeah, it's not their best effort, but it is a definite talking point. It is a Toyota with a Holden engine. Quite intriguing. Right, I think that's quite enough of the Holden powered Corona. Let's go and take a look at the Cressida. So onto the Toyota Cressida, and now we must contemplate confusing model lineups, trying to explain where this slots into Toyota's vast range of Corollas, Carinas, Coronas and Mark IIs and Crestas as well. Some of you may recognize the shape of this car. It is very similar to the Cresta, which was kind of like the super posh version, and as used by Benny's Custom Works. And because of that car, I was kind of expecting this to be bigger for some reason. It seems a bit smaller than I anticipated. So it slots in underneath the Crown, which was the biggest Toyota, but shares quite a few styling cues. If we move inside, it's a world of gorgeous push button velour. Look at this. I mean, it's faded somewhat because Australia, and it's matched by the interior plastics, which are also red, and there's lots of fake wood going on. Very sort of 1970s really. Seems a bit strange on a 1980s car. I'll jump aboard for a closer look, and for the obligatory hazard warning lights. Oh yeah, it's a good noise, I'm liking that. And yeah, we've got wipers over here, variable intermittent control. We've got the lights over here, electric mirrors, electric windows, power door locks. We've got 3-speed plus overdrive transmission, so actually a 4-speed with a torque converter lockup. It's got Toyota air conditioning, and radio controls here and a clock by the look of it, and a more modern radio down here. Maybe that's rather more effective. It's got aftermarket cruise control, which sadly doesn't work. Heated rear window switch. But yeah, just look at this. All this red. It's just absolutely marvellous. Even got the owner's manual there for the Cressida. I don't think that explains the model history in any more detail, unfortunately. It is just unfathomable. I've noticed we've got a tilt slide sunroof, and very wise to have a shade. Although that does then render the whole thing slightly pointless, but nonetheless it does open. See, that's nice and convenient when you're driving along, having to try and scroll the roof open like that. Interior lights, it's all well and good, but yeah, lovely comfy supportive seats. And I'm looking forward to taking this one for a drive, because I drove a Mitsubishi Magna yesterday. So it'll be very interesting to see how this compares. The Magna had a digital dashboard display and was a lot more modern. This feels like true 1970s motoring. It feels very old-fashioned. But I think we shall take this one for a drive, and then we'll come back and take a look at the Camry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to sit in the rear first, and oh, this is definitely comfortable. This is just like sitting on a sofa. Nice arm restraint, and yeah, nice visibility. There's plenty of windows. It's all the good times. Little ashtray there. Got document pockets. Yeah, it's all good. My feet go under the seat in front. I would say this could do with a bit more angle for a bit more comfort, but oh yeah, this is feeling lovely. So we've got the bonnet is on struts, so that's good. But we've got a twin cam 6-cylinder engine here, straight 6, 2.6 litres. I'll insert the power figure around here somewhere, and all well and good. This is all related to the aftermarket cruise control. Apparently there's a magnet on a prop shaft and everything, so it's got some sort of speed reference. So it's all seems quite compact under here. And nonetheless, it all seems to fit. We've got a viscous fan again. Yeah, it's all good times. Look at that, Toyota. That was the original company name, was Toyota. I think it was a Toyota family. But they changed it to Toyota. It was easier in the Japanese script to write. It's the lazy 6-cylinder engine firing into life. We'd better do some of this. Oh yeah, good overlap. A bit too much overlap. I reckon that wiper arm is sitting a little high, but nonetheless, it's a pleasing wiper performance. There is no mist function, but I can go to an intermittent setting there. Good wiping performance, kind of as you'd expect on a Toyota. There aren't many Toyotas with bad wiping. The seat, it feels like something might be a bit tired in it. I've tried adjusting the lumbar support. Oh no, there we go. That was it. It was too much lumbar support. And oh, I see, it goes up. Oh, and then it goes really up. And then you go back down. There you go. That's probably where I want it, to be honest. I can adjust the height of the seat and the tilt of it, which is all quite advanced stuff. But generally it feels very square rigged. It feels very, very 1970s in here. And I've got a light warning. I don't know if that is usually what these things mean, but the light warning system is broken, is usually what it means. But, she'll pull away. It sounds like the viscous fan may not be entirely working. It sounds like it might be misbehaving a little and running when it shouldn't be. It's a very nice Audi 90 over there, sitting with no plates, which suggests it isn't registered. Look at that. Very nice. Distracting. I think something's amiss with this car. I don't know what it was doing there, but it didn't feel right. But the main thing I'm getting is it doesn't feel like it's got as much grunt as the Mitsubishi Magna I drove yesterday, which also had a 2.6 litre engine, albeit a 4-cylinder one. This just hasn't got that same effortless vibe. Oh, there we go. Yeah, decent mid-range punch, but it's not exactly lots. It feels like it's having to work quite hard to punt me down the road, whereas the Magna didn't. And the Magna was also Australian built, also of Japanese origin, so I think it's a very valid comparison. But yeah, generally this feels very old school. Because in many ways Toyota was a very conservative company. Oh, it certainly feels it here. I think this example is beyond its best, and the ride feels a little bouncy as well. So I mean, it has done 257,000 kilometers. It's not in the first flush of youth, but yeah, it just feels like a car that's got a bit more wear and tear on it. It is still used as a daily driver by the owner, Ryan, so he's certainly not scared to use it. Yeah, the damping is definitely less than perfect. It's fairly peaceful, but I can hear some very distinct wind noise coming from somewhere. I don't know if it's this aftermarket sunroof or around the windscreen or something. Oh, yeah, it really is a bit bouncy. I think the dampers are tired. The steering as well just feels a little vague. It is a steering box, but the steering actually has a slightly nicer weight to it than the Mitsubishi. The Mitsubishi didn't inspire any sort of confidence at all when it came to steering. Right, let's see how the Toyota Camry compares then. We've got our twin cam injection, which we had before, but certainly when you look inside, oh dear, this seems rather dreary by comparison, doesn't it? And if we straighten the steering wheel a bit, drab almost. Again, it would be locally sourced plastic and trim, I imagine, but all the colour's gone. Has all the interest. I mean, this is just 2 years later than the Cressida behind us, and this feels so much more modern. Yes, there is unfortunately a bit of plastic missing there, but That's what happens sometimes. We've got a similar very long stalk with the overdrive. We've got a very retro, deliciously 1980s Philips cassette player, Toyota by Philips, electronic stereo receiver. Japanese did like a nice stereo. Again, we've got air conditioning, but this is fairly austere. We've got mere winding windows here. The seat is still quite comfortable, but feels quite a bit rougher. I'm just going to try and adjust it for me, because that's a bit too upright. I've got no lumbar adjustment, have I? Oh no, I've got lumbar adjustment. It just all feels a bit basic, really, and very, very plasticky. And it's all grey. It's a sea of grey plastic. We've got dash vents that have all the controls in the world: off, through flow, and I don't really know what that one is. Oh, is that your through flow? And maybe that one's your when the fans go in, it pushes it through. Manual control of the mirrors. This is clearly a much lower spec than the Cressida, and it just feels a bit drab, but it all seems in pretty good nick. But we've got no toys to play with here, have we? Put the dashboard on, and we've still got a light warning to warn us if there's a light out. Oil pressure over there, the handbrake isn't on, and the light doesn't work for it anyway. That's fine. Or maybe it's a warning for, oh no, there's park brake. I'm on the wrong side of the dashboard, so that must be your brake warning over there. If that comes on, all is not well. Tiny digital clock hidden away under here, which reminds me of getting on for lunchtime. A very quiet and refined relay noise, and this little bit of fake trim on the steering wheel is kind of the only hint of the overblown interior of the Cressida we've just been in. Wipers, very standard. Oh dear. Let's try that with the engine running. There we go. That's some water on the windscreen. Haven't even got an auto wipe system. We have got a triangle of doom. That strikes me as unusual. I really would not expect a triangle of doom on a Toyota, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Slightly confusing, but you can, oh yeah, there we go. Now we can move the wheel because we've got power steering. It sounds a bit clattery, to be honest, but let's go and have a look under the bonnet. Well, I've got no gas struts anymore, but you'll see we've now got a transverse engine. So no more north-south, no more rear-wheel drive. It is a 2-litre 16-valve. Seems very compact, I think. Alternator belt is right there. Don't dangle the microphone in it. Twin cooling fans, very useful. But yeah, very different. This is a much more modern design. I mean, generally, the entire look of the car is much more modern. It really does make the Cressida behind look very old-fashioned indeed. And amusingly, we returned to the Holden link. These were available as the Holden Apollo, which was pure badge engineering, different rear lights and Holden badges. Interestingly, because it's from 1988, it's got bicentenary celebration plates on it, which I think are quite lovely. But while it warms up, I'll just hop aboard the rear. Oh, it feels pretty austere in the rear as well. A bit more of a struggle to get my feet under the seat in front. I've got no pocket here to put my documents in, no center armrest, but it is a split folding rear seat, I note. So that offers a bit more practicality. We've got a very nice period sunshade as well, manual windows, which go down that far. But yeah, it all feels very cheap and plasticky back here too. Certainly a very smooth engine, but decent sized boot. The loading lip is a little bit lower. Here we can see the folding seats. I'm not sure how you activate those. Very nice little bulb in a little plastic cage to protect it. So you've got some boot illumination. And under here, I would imagine, is a spare wheel. There we go, full size spare. Always good. Maybe this is the car for me. Look, my bag is a perfect colour match for the interior. We shall see about going for a drive. Into drive we go. I mean, it does feel so cheap and nasty in here after the Cressida. The one thing the Cressida definitely didn't feel was cheap. Oh, look, a stop sign. You know what? I might actually stop at it, just for a change. So, not very inspiring to listen to. There are a few trim rattles, which I wasn't expecting. So, overall, this car is slightly disappointing in some ways. The build quality isn't as good as I'd expect. It's very, very grey, and we've got a triangle of doom which is dribbling down the windscreen. It's all of the bad times. Nice Volvo 240 there. But, let's see how she goes when we get to a mildly quicker road. The brakes need a good shove. Again, I wasn't quite expecting that. I was expecting a bit more stopping power. This one has done 155,000 kilometers. And it feels a bit typical modern multi-valve engine, to be honest. It's not about low-down grunt. It's about the higher revs. So as it gets to about 3,500 revs, it becomes quite lively. A bit too lively for this section of road, it turns out. The steering's okay, although it feels a little like there's a touch of play in it or something. It kind of needs corrections where I wouldn't have expected it. But otherwise, you know, we've got the aircon going. It's fairly peaceful in here. Feels fairly refined. It's just the build quality is not what I would expect. It'd be very interesting to try a Japanese built one to see how it compares. But again, the Camry name badge is a confusing one. It began life as a Celica Camry, which was a saloon with, I'm guessing, probably similar running gear to the Celica, probably more of an enlarged Corona. And then the Camry series split after this generation, and the Japanese ones stayed with what's called the narrow body, and the rest of the world got a wide body Camry. That's the one that has twin rear wipers on the estate. They were also assembled here in Australia, and I think they did very well here. Because the 2.2 litre engine in those is pretty much unkillable. And there's a smooth V6 if you fancy. I think they did a V6 of these as well, but I think they were imported as complete cars. I don't think they did them as Australian assembled in any way. You know, because you'd have to set up a different engine plant, and then what, you're going to build cars in 2 locations? So I think V6s were just bought in complete, which is why they're probably quite rare, I imagine. Nissan Dualis. Not bad as a Qashqai here. Yeah, I imagine this works really well as a daily transport, but it is a little bit typical Toyota. It's a little bit nothing to get excited about, I would kindly suggest. Well, there we go. That was 3 really quite different Australian built Toyotas for you. The Camry, apparently that's not even the bottom of the range yet. It still feels like austerity on wheels. Pleasant, but yeah, I want a bit more comfort in my big car. Thank you very much. And we move on to Cressida, which is all of the plush and the marvellous interior, just a bit old-fashioned for when it was built. It does not feel like a mid-1980s car. And then finally we come on to the Corona, which sadly I'm unable to drive due to its lack of legality. But it's not a very good car by all accounts. The engine is terrible, and perhaps it's better that I don't drive it. It might just destroy my curiosity in this car. But it is a curious car. It's a wonderful history piece, and I'm very glad it exists. But yeah, a very interesting set of comparisons. So I shall say thank you very much for watching. Don't forget you can go to the HubNut store and buy merchandise. I don't think we've got these anymore, so it's a really bad example. And you can also find support options at hubnut.org. And I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Farewell.